is Betty Cruz, and I'm the nonprofit and faith-based manager in the mayor's office. I've also been charged with leading the Welcoming Pittsburgh initiative. As a Cuban American, first generation, I can't tell you how excited I am about this kickoff. I'm also just so proud of our mayor making this commitment, really seeing the importance of the immigrant community, and bringing us all together here today. Very exciting. Without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Seed, our host here today.
Thank you, Betty. Good morning, everyone. My name is Lavender Washira, and I am a program officer at the Christian Evangelistic Economic Development, SEED. SEED is a registered 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides business assistance to underserved and disadvantaged entrepreneurs, businesses, and communities in the city of Pittsburgh and the surrounding region. Our Skills to Wealth program provides a variety of culturally competent programs and services, primarily serving immigrant, refugee, minority, and women-owned businesses. On behalf of SEED and the Executive Director, Mr. Rufus Idris, who is currently in faraway Africa and working on international partnerships as we speak, I welcome you all to this historic event this morning. If we recall the Brookings Institution report examining 2010 census data, Pittsburgh ranked about last nationwide in population diversity. And Pittsburgh's lack of diversity is actively hurting the city, and this justifies the importance of today's event. Thank you, Mayor Peduto. At SEED, we believe that a more diverse population can help Pittsburgh rebuild a more diverse and more robust economy. For the past 6 years, SEED has built a reputation of assisting and developing small businesses and micro-enterprises in the city of Pittsburgh. A large portion of those businesses have been established by immigrants. Immigrants start small businesses in the quest to become economically self-sufficient and serve consumer needs locally and globally as well. The Partnership for New American Economy found that immigrants are now more than twice as likely as a native born to start a business, and were responsible for more than 1 in every 4 US businesses founded in 2011, significantly outpacing their share of the population. Immigrants co-founded or founded Google, Yahoo, eBay, and so many other innovative businesses. In the support of the mayor's efforts to make Pittsburgh more welcoming and diverse, SEED, through its Miller International Enterprise Center project, will for the next 5 years assist and help develop 180 immigrant-owned micro-enterprises and small businesses. It is anticipated that these 180 businesses will help bring economic growth to Pittsburgh's distressed communities, create up to 900 jobs, and promote diversity and inclusion through integration and socioeconomic interactions between foreign-born immigrants, refugees, international students, and residents of the targeted communities. Just to give you a brief sneak peek of my story and how I came to be here in Pittsburgh in front of you. I'm sure you caught the accent. I am from Kenya. I came to Pittsburgh for graduate school. I went to Point Park University, where I pursued my MBA in international business. And one thing that stands out to me is every time I go out to networking events and meeting people out there, their question to me is always, really, Pittsburgh? There's New York, DC, you actually picked to come to Pittsburgh. And unfortunately at first I shared the same sentiments, because Hollywood sells a very different picture of what America is. But now, 5 years down the line, I call Pittsburgh my home. And now when people ask me why Pittsburgh, I tell them why not Pittsburgh. And I am so happy. And definitely this initiative that the mayor's office is kicking off today in working to celebrate our immigrant past just adds to the list of why I'm so happy to be, that my path led me here. I am so glad and so honored to be a part of the beginning of something great today. And at this point, I'd like to ask you to please rise up and help me welcome our mayor, William Peduto. Thank you.
Thank you, Lavender. That was beautiful. I would also like to ask Councilman Dan Gilman to come up and join me, and also recognize Judy Feldman's here from Councilman O'Connor's office. I see Mary Esther, Dr. Van Shore is here from County Executive Rich Fitzgerald's office. And we're also joined by the former mayor of Tuskegee, Mayor Omar Neal, as well. So thank you very much for being here. Look around the room. You look around the room, look at the face of Pittsburgh's future. It's a wonderful day for this city. This is an initiative that was born from the people of Pittsburgh when we asked people to come together to start to put together a platform for this administration to take on. It was that there wasn't enough being done with the city to become more welcoming and coordinating the efforts of those that have been working in the nonprofit world of welcoming new Pittsburghs to this city. And let me tell you something. This city is going to change dramatically over the next 20 years because our economy is going to be picking up, and people from all over the world are going to be looking to making their home in Pittsburgh, just like they did over 100 years ago. Over 100 years ago, people came from Southern Europe, Eastern Europe, and the Southern United States, and they came here to work in the mills. One of them his name was Serafino Zeroli, and that was my grandfather. And my grandfather raised me from the day that I was born, and he lived to be 93, and he was a very, very proud man. But I can also tell you that during those days back in Carnegie, he was not welcomed. He was told to go home. They don't want him. The KKK marched through Carnegie back in the 20s, and it was one of the centers of the KKK's efforts. And it was targeting in our African American community and Catholics. And we have to remember this, because Pittsburgh's past is very much based on things that we should not be proud of. In 1850, we elected a mayor who was in prison under the party, the Anti-Catholic Party. And they busted him out of jail after he won on a write-in. That's how bad they wanted this guy. And they put him down in the mayor's office. The judge made him go back to jail and wait till January to get sworn in. As soon as he got sworn in, first thing he did, fired every police officer and hired his buddies to be the police. Next thing he did, took the bishop, put him in prison for an illegal sewer tapping at Mercy Hospital. And while the bishop was in prison, where the Frick building stands today, the Roman Catholic Cathedral burned to the ground. And they never found who did it because his buddies were all the police. That's the Pittsburgh's history. And it's always changing because it's always a new group that's coming in. But if a city is to do more than survive, it needs to have people to come to be innovators, people to come to rebuild communities, people to come to build a city. And that's where we stand today. We went through a 30-year thaw, a freeze of not bringing more people in. And we've seen what has happened in neighborhood after neighborhood throughout this city. And now we're going to turn that around. And who's going to be at the forefront of it? Our own city government. And we're going to create a committee that's not going to be of city officials, but of the people who are working on the ground, making a difference, and helping and giving them the tools to empower a city to be a welcoming city. Because Pittsburgh's economic survival depends upon it. Some numbers I was given by Betty. As of 2013, and we talk about Pittsburgh and it's not really that diverse, but as of 2013, we had more than 1,300 Bhutanese, nearly 500 Burmese, almost 200 Iraqi, and over 260 Somali who resettled in the city of Pittsburgh. We talk a lot about the Hispanic community and the number of Latinos that are in our region, and we don't even realize that that number has now exceeded 24,000, and it's growing exponentially each year. Looking at where we're going to be doing some more partnerships in the future to be able to get to our goal, which is 20,000 new residents in the next 10 years. We're going to build this city back up, and we're going to do it neighborhood by neighborhood. But where we have the opportunity is doing a concentrated effort to rebuild our Sister Cities program, to become back a part of the international world and a global leader as a city of innovation, technology, and welcoming for everyone. Now we realize that in the Pan-Asian community, from Turkey to Korea, we have the highest educated, highest paid immigrant community in the United States. What we're lacking is bringing those, like my grandfather, who don't have that high level of skill, and giving them a home to build their home here in Pittsburgh as well. And that's where we'll be concentrating as well. Let me introduce Councilman Gilman, because there's a whole different side of this as well. The economic picture is really being transformed in ways that our universities and hospitals have become the mills of tomorrow, right? The mills never left. They just moved up the hillside, and they're called UPMC and Carnegie Mellon and the University of Pittsburgh. And we have to make sure that we're not losing the talent and losing it to places where people go back to the countries to start their own companies, but give them that opportunity to do it here. Councilman?
Thank you, Mayor. For those of you that don't know, prior to my election to City Council last year, I spent 10 years working for then Councilman Peduto. And as I was thinking about what I was going to say this morning, I was going to steal his line about the mills closing. But then he beat me to it. So unfortunately, we think alike too often. When I ran, I represent Shadyside, Squirrel Hill, Point Breeze, and Oakland, the new economy of Western Pennsylvania, the heart of the economy of all of Southwestern Pennsylvania. And when I ran on innovation, entrepreneurship, small business, and how do we take that new economy and grow an economy that's for all Pittsburghers and for all Pennsylvanians. And part of what I've done since I got elected is just gone on a listening tour, going to startup companies, going to the universities, going to the hospitals, asking what are the challenges, where can government get more involved to support? And there's usually two answers. Number one is get out of the way. Number two is let us keep the talent here. We have so much talent coming every year to Pitt and Carnegie Mellon and Chatham and Carlow and Duquesne and Point Park and the Art Institute. So much talent in this city that because of government restrictions, we're losing every year. Last year in the United States, over 50% of all patents were granted to immigrant communities that are most likely to face challenges staying in the country, that being students, postdoctoral fellows, and staff researchers. 50% of all patents in this country. And because of our archaic laws on HB1 visas, we take that talent and we show them the door from Pittsburgh. We take our economy and we say, you know what, we're not interested in that in Pittsburgh. And so one of the prime commitments that I've made is to partner with great leaders like Mike Doyle in the United States Congress to change the laws, to make sure our HB1 visas are more readily available to the talent that comes here every year, so that people to come to Carnegie Mellon and Pitt. Yeah. We need to make sure that that talent that comes here every year to go to Carnegie Mellon or Pitt doesn't leave after 4, 6, or 8 years, but they're sending their kids and their grandkids to Pittsburgh public schools. They're sending their kids and grandkids to Carnegie Mellon, Pitt, and Chatham, and they're making Pittsburgh their home for future generations, the same way that the mayor talked about his grandfather. Not that we're treating talent as something that's disposable to our community. So I thank you all for being here. I thank the mayor for his commitment to so many of these issues, and I look forward as we work together to not only build a new economy, but a new Pittsburgh. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilman. And since you weren't able to steal one of my lines, I'm going to steal one of yours. Dan said it last week when celebrating a court victory down on Ellsworth Avenue in Shadyside. Pittsburgh won't be the most livable city until it's the most livable city for everyone. And that's what we're trying to do today. That's what we're working with every one of the organizations that are here today to make sure that this city reaches its real potential by giving everybody an opportunity to be a part of a very welcoming city. Mr. Rogers would want that, right? Okay. Let me introduce Betty Cruz back to give a little bit of an explanation of what it is we're launching today and how we are going to work together to create that Pittsburgh that we know it can be.
Thank you, Mayor. So one of the key initiatives that we're going to launch today is to build an advisory committee that's really going to be our guiding source of light as we kick off Welcoming Pittsburgh. And that application is now live. I'm going to be sharing that with everyone who who has signed in today, so make sure I have your email address so that you can apply. We wanted to make it an application process just because we want to open it up to as many people as possible. Obviously, the number will have to be limited. We're looking at probably about 25 participants in this Welcoming Pittsburgh Advisory Council. But that's not to say that we don't expect to fully work with every single one of you here today and keep our partnership moving forward. We're standing on the shoulders of all of the great work that many of you have already been doing leading up to today, and now we just want to be at the table and helping to set initiatives and policies that are really going to shape our future to build a more welcoming city. So that is something that we're really excited about, and we would expect to finalize that Am I the only one that's doing this? I'd like to finalize that advisory council by early June. So the application will be open for a few weeks. Something else the councilman referenced, his listening tour. Well, we're going to turn to the advisory council to have a listening tour as well as it relates to building a more welcoming city, to make sure that the message is getting out, that we're hearing from the community, folks who may not be here today but have a very important voice as well, and make sure that they're able to contribute as to what a more welcoming city will look like, and to build more cultural understanding as well along the process. The other partnership that the mayor spoke to that I wanted to underscore was that we'll be working closely with World Affairs Council and Steve Sokol's team to lead in the rebuilding of our Sister Cities program. So there are a handful of sister cities that the community has kept alive and moving forward, and we're thankful for that. But in many regards, it's been dormant. So we're looking forward to working closely with Steve and the World Affairs Council to reignite that partnership and build it out even further to have a true partnership with our sister cities around the world. The other aspect that we're looking forward to kicking off is that our local government has what's called the Civic Leadership Academy. Most of you may know what that is, but it's basically a way to open up the doors of government. So for about 6 to 8 weeks, once a week, selected candidates can participate in the Civic Leadership Academy to hear from the mayor, hear from the police department, hear from Public Works, and understand how city government operates. For our fall class, we're going to split that opportunity up so that it's the standard outreach, and then we're also going to make sure we're specifically targeting immigrants, new Americans, to participate in the next class. So that Civic Leadership Academy is usually about 30 participants, so we look forward to seeing about 15 of those being our new immigrants, new Americans in our community. And then I won't take up too much time with the activities that are happening in June, because Melanie Harrington with Vibrant Pittsburgh and Bill Flanagan with the Allegheny Conference are going to both speak to some exciting events taking place in June. But I will say that June, for the first time ever, has been designated as Immigrant Heritage Month. And it's very exciting, yes. And we're looking forward to participating with all of the activities that are happening, and hopefully bringing everyone together again who's here and more to issue a proclamation in June and recognize Immigrant Heritage Month. So that's some of what's happening. Thank you so much. Thank you. With that, it's my great pleasure to bring up community leader Cecile Springer to share her story as an immigrant. Thank you.
Good morning. You have no idea how happy I am to be here today. And standing, it's early. But what I'm very pleased to see is how many of us are here. I really didn't know what to expect. To address the notion of immigrants in the city of Pittsburgh, for me, is very novel. Meaning that while I see immigrants, and I'm always in the university community, it's different to actually have to address it. So I'm going to do this purposefully. I moved to Pittsburgh from New York in 1959, so you know how ancient I am. Shortly after I married Eric Springer, a young lawyer from Brooklyn who lived very close to where I lived in Brooklyn. I remember being shocked over the first 3 years of my having moved here that I always seemed to meet only other New Yorkers who were being recruited to come here, but they were being recruited by the University of Pittsburgh. They were lawyers, architects, doctors, social workers, and they were smart. So I said, this must be a good community, because I never thought I'd leave Brooklyn to come to Pittsburgh. Soon I met Chancellor Edward Litchfield, who at the time was really promoting the city of Pittsburgh and the university to grow. And he announced that his mission was to grow the university into an internationally known university, competitive throughout the world. That's a notion that I don't believe was much abroad here. And that was why there were so many New Yorkers and other Northeasterners here in Western Pennsylvania. Among the first native Pittsburghers I met was Aline Eckstein Sawyer. She was the first native Pittsburgher that I met, having lived here almost 3 years. Others lived here, but she was the only native. I said, wow, someone really born here. But at any rate, Aline was the wife of a steelworker leader and the sister of Billy Eckstein. She was the first native born in Pittsburgh, as I said, I had met. Everyone else was from out of town. Then in 1962, there was a sudden influx of Hungarians. Does anybody remember that here? Nobody? It was very interesting that these were refugees from the Civil War in Hungary, refugees who were trained merchants, artisans, and teachers. Over 120 families were welcomed to Pittsburgh by the local churches. These churches fed them, housed them, helped them learn English, got jobs for them, and befriended them. These immigrants, 120 families, all at the same time, were hungry for freedom and opportunity, and soon melted into the multi-ethnic city of Pittsburgh, so soon that they became staunch Pittsburghers. Little accent, you didn't hear an accent at all. I was very surprised. They distributed themselves throughout Pittsburgh and were befriended by church people from all over the city. We, my husband and I, also melted into the multi-ethnic city of Pittsburgh. Eric was doing research in health and law at the University of Pittsburgh. I'm a chemist, and soon was employed at the Graduate School of Public Health at Pitt, researching amino acids. I'm laughing because this was important to me. Researching amino acid production in the body and the role it played in obesity, even then. This is a long time ago. We were both adding, we thought, to the intellectual capital of the city, becoming financially independent and making a mark in the city where we volunteered, I for the League of Women Voters and Eric for the Human Relations Commission, among other groups. But many people did wonder who we were. We were relatively new to the city. We were professionals at Pitt. We were advocates for civil rights and not willing to be segregated in any aspect of living here, though the city tried to segregate us. We are both children of immigrants. My mother and Eric's father are from Barbados. My father and his mother are from Panama. I told him, or I tell him often, that's the only reason why I married him. And all of them came to New York in the early 20th century, looking for advanced education, using that education that they came to acquire to advance themselves in employment. They insisted on home ownership. Home ownership was a priority. And they raised their children with the belief that they could, or better be, or otherwise, be number one in all of their classes. Education was primary, and we had to be the best in the class. So by the time we came to Pittsburgh, we knew that we could be competitive, could be articulate in asserting our civil rights, and could fight to secure the civil rights of others. And those Hungarians that I told you about that came to Pittsburgh came for freedom, access to education, freedom to compete for jobs, and to become members of a free society, and they did. And it was amazing to me how those 120 families melted into the community because they were so well accepted. And then, as well now, I see, we do welcome strangers. We find them to be competitive young people, young marrieds, looking for security and jobs, and inclusion into the local society. And today we see new immigrants looking for the same thing: education, jobs, inclusion. And these new immigrants that I see are Hispanics. They live in my neighborhood. They go to church with me. East Indians who are clearly coming out of CMU and Pitt, and young professional African American men and women moving to Pittsburgh and staying here. So what I see is a Pittsburgh just as welcoming to newcomers, whether moving here from another location in the United States or from outside the country, and they're being welcomed by church communities. I see them being embraced, and also being included very quickly into the cultural community and the neighborhoods. So my only advice is that the welcomes need to be louder, so that newcomers find their way to understand the language. I had problems with that. The language of Western Pennsylvania is different, but it's inclusive and it's welcoming. And to meld into the tempo of Pittsburgh. Tempo is another thing that I found was very difficult for me. I was faster than everybody, and it took me about 10 years to cool it so that people could hear me, and to encourage newcomers to ask for help, and for Pittsburghers to ask what is the help they need. And I think that's all easy. And I want to thank you for listening.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Wow, from this angle, yes, that's so exciting. There's so many of us here. Good job, Betty. My name is Rosa Maria Ponciano, and I am currently the director for the AIU Latino Family Center. I also have the honor of being the co-chair for the Immigrants and Internationals Advisory Council for DHS. Anyone who's in that board, can you please raise your hand, just so that we can all see you? Yeah, look around. Very good. I'll tell you more about the great work that we do a little bit later on. So I'm from Guatemala. I was born there, and I grew up in the Washington, D.C. Area in Arlington, Virginia. I moved to Pittsburgh roughly about 3 years ago. And when I moved here, it sounds like we all had the same experience. Where is everyone? Where is the diversity? Why am I here? But as I stayed here, I realized, wow, we are here. It's not like other cities where everyone's concentrated. We're actually pretty much scattered around, but we're here. And then, as I continued to learn more about the history of Pittsburgh, I realized, wow, the city of Pittsburgh was built with the hands of immigrants as well. And if you even look at the city, you can see different neighborhoods that different diverse groups claimed. Case in point, Bloomfield, right? With the population of Italians there. So they've been here. This isn't something new. But just like, I was going to say our new mayor, but I'm going to drop the new. I think you've deserved the mayor. Stated that we kind of fell asleep. For 30 years, we fell asleep. And it seems that in that time, we as Pittsburghers, and I do say we because I feel that this is my home now, we forgot that the face of new Americans changes. And it's a constant change. Before it was Italians and different ones. Now we're seeing Guatemalans. We're seeing people coming from India. We're seeing people coming, I'm seeing a lot more from El Salvador recently, Colombia, Venezuela. So it's changing. And that's exciting. That's really exciting. And so it's not that we haven't been doing anything about it. In fact, the advisory board, through the leadership of Barb Murak, which I don't think anyone would argue is a very strong leadership. Barb, can you raise your hand? We've been doing a lot of work. We've created a cultural competency committee to kind of help service providers learn how to work with these immigrant populations. We've done a lot. It's even more than when I've been here. It's been over 7 years. And in fact, we joined Welcoming America about a year ago. And so I am excited. I am so excited that now the city is coming in and joining us. Because imagine what we're going to do now. And And really, Mayor Peduto, from the bottom of my heart and the council, thank you, because you are a breath of fresh air for us. So, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Am I supposed to use this one?
Yes, that one. Okay. I'll only replace the batteries because the batteries are going to the wireless mic. Give me 1 second.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me. You can't. Okay, I'll wait, Jennifer. I have a soft voice.
Clicking you keep hearing. We may have a $60 million deficit, but we can't afford that.
Get mine off of here. You just turn it up here.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Go ahead.
My name is Kamina Mathur. I'm an immigration attorney and also executive director of the Pittsburgh Center for International Understanding, whose goal is to bring people of different cultural backgrounds and different nationalities together to communicate and to learn more about each other and to not only work but play together, which I find here in Pittsburgh doesn't happen as often as it should. I am very, very pleased to be here to support Mayor Peduto's Welcoming Pittsburgh initiative and to do whatever I can to help him, because the mayor realizes that improving and enhancing Pittsburgh's diversity is actually the key to the city's future prosperity. I actually immigrated to the United States twice. Once as a child, when my father was tapped to work on the space program here in the U.S. and help put man on the moon. And at that time, there were very few Indians here. In fact, when my mother and I walked down the street, people would come and touch her sari and ask her what it is. And even though it was after school desegregation, I was often the only non-white in the schools that I attended throughout the United States. So I know what it's like to feel different, to feel unwelcome. And I think it's very important that we, as a city, although we do have, and we have recently been doing a lot to encourage Pittsburgh's diverse population to come together, to communicate, to work together. But I think Mayor Peduto's office has, and Betty Cruz have had, we've had some discussions about this, have many, many initiatives that are going to help bring people together. I'd like to say also, there was a discussion previously about immigration, about the city attracting a new breed of immigrants who work in the hospitals, who work in the universities, who come to study.
This would be easier.
Who come to study and are unable to stay here because of our screwed up visa system. People who, for example, this year, we had to have a lottery system. Why should we base the future of our city or of our country, in fact, on the lottery system? We know that immigration, when my father first came here, immigration fueled it not only helped the immigrant achieve the American dream, achieve a home, achieve the things that achieve freedom, but also it helped the country with innovation and industry. We not only put man on the moon, we developed personal computing, the internet, and recent studies have shown that that immigration enhances the intellectual property, enhances the economic development, and countries throughout the world are trying to attract the best and the brightest, and why should not we do that as well? I ended up in Pittsburgh here. I married a Pittsburgher, and I love Pittsburgh. It blew me away. Before I moved here, I thought, oh, this is some greedy steel town. Who wants to move to Pittsburgh? I was telling my husband, you move over here. And I've lived all over the world. I'm a former Foreign Service officer and U.S. diplomat. I've lived and worked all over the world. But I was blown away the first time I came to Pittsburgh. Not only does it have great theater, great cuisine, the views are spectacular. My husband took me up on Mount Washington one evening after dinner, and I said, okay, I'm coming to Pittsburgh. So I heartily applaud everything the mayor is doing, and I encourage all of you to look to the future with optimism. I think that great things are going to happen here, and I'm so happy to be a part of it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. If we can give another round of applause to Cecile, Rosa Maria, and Kamana for sharing their powerful stories. And there are many more stories like that in the room, and I hope that everyone has a chance to stay after and connect and listen to Besame perform and enjoy some more of the food in the back. It's my pleasure to introduce CEO of Vibrant Pittsburgh, Melanie Harrington, who's going to come up and tell us about some exciting initiatives happening in June.
So good morning. It's still morning, right? Yeah, good morning. So I have to say, looking out on this room, today is a good day. Today is a really good day. We are so excited to see this day happen. On behalf of the staff and the board of directors of Vibrant Pittsburgh, we are going to be one of the best partners that the city will have on welcoming Pittsburgh. We have hoped for and waited for this day to come, and the city and the mayor, they have not let us down. And we are in partnership with a number of organizations that I see represented here. And it's so great that everybody has come out to be supportive of what's happening, what's commencing in our community. My name is Melanie Harrington, as Betty mentioned. I am not an immigrant to Pittsburgh, but I migrated to Pittsburgh from Atlanta, Georgia, a few years ago to actually help grow the diversity of the Pittsburgh region. That is Vibrant Pittsburgh's focus, that is our mission. And in doing that, one of the things that we have learned, because we have a welcome center at Vibrant Pittsburgh that works with newcomers, is that welcoming people is not just about the welcomer. Do you know what I mean? It is about what the welcomee needs in order to feel integrated and connected and sufficiently utilized and engaged in the community. So as we try and become this welcoming place for all people, for every people, we want to make sure that we are treating those people as they need to be treated, not as I want to be treated. You know, it is a new paradigm shift that we want to develop in this region. To that end, in wanting to be a more welcoming place, Pittsburgh is going to be the host of the Global Great Lakes Network 2014 convening. Vibrant Pittsburgh, our friends at Global Pittsburgh and Global Detroit are the host conveners of this event, but it will bring economic development agencies from across the country, about 30 different states across the country, to come and talk about how we as communities can become more welcoming in order to attract, retain, and integrate into our communities more people that are diverse, that are immigrating to the U.S. So we invite you to come and be a part of that event on June 12th is the public conference day. It will be at the University of Pittsburgh Law School from 8 to 5 o'clock, or about 8:30 to 5 o'clock in the evening. You can register at globalgl.org. Is Adriana in the room? Did I get that right? And if you have, did I get that right, Tom? Great. globalgl.org. So please come and join us, because what we want to make sure is, as a community, we are as effective as we can be in being that welcoming place. And if you don't know, it's always good to ask, you know, somebody, right? Make a new friend and ask, how can I be welcoming to you? What do I need to do? I have the same experience that Cecile Springer had. The first person that I met was also, moving to Pittsburgh, was also another newcomer, Steve Sokol, who moved here from New York. So thank you so much, Betty, for allowing us to come and talk about the Global Great Lakes Network. Thank you, Betty, for all that you have done to make this day a reality. And we wish you much success in all that you will do and the advisory committee will do with welcoming Pittsburgh.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bill Flanagan. I'm with the Allegheny Conference on Community Development. It's great to be here with all of you today. For those of you who don't know the conference, we're an economic development organization that serves all 10 counties of southwestern Pennsylvania to both market the region as well as try to improve its competitiveness. And we're doing a lot of work these days looking at the future and where we're headed as a community and some of the economic realities we have to contend with. And one of those is our population and demographics. If you look at southwestern Pennsylvania, we all know we skew a little older than a lot of other places. We all know we're a little bit less diverse than a lot of other places. What people may not appreciate is how big a competitive challenge this is going to be for all of us when you look ahead 10 or 15 years. And that has to do in large part because of the large percentage of baby boomers in the population, people 45 and over. In fact, if you look at the group 45 to 65, and this is the whole region, this is not just the city, this is the whole region. If you look at the group 45 to 65, and you look at the group 25 to 45, the folks we're counting on to replace those of us with some gray hair if we still got hair. If you look at those two groups, 25 to 45 and 45 to 65, what you find is there are 144,000 fewer people aged 25 to 45 than there are 45 to 65 in a region that as of today has zero population growth. We are attracting more people than we're losing every year, but our death rate exceeds the birth rate, and that cancels us out. So we essentially have zero population growth in the region and a 144,000 gap we've got to fill. So we've got to do a lot of things to be able to maintain this economy, maintain everything that's been built here over the last 30 or 35 years. We've got to educate people better. We've got to train people better. We've got to include and elevate the people already in the region. We've got to do a much better job of that than we've been doing. But even if we do all that and we do it all incredibly well, it still isn't going to be enough. We've got to attract people as well. It's the only way we're going to be able not to even grow the region, just to sustain what we have as those baby boomers begin to move into retirement over the next 10 or 15 years. So we're real excited about what the city's doing, what the mayor's doing. We do need to be a more welcoming place, not just here in the city of Pittsburgh, but in all of southwestern Pennsylvania. And to that end, we're partnering with a number of different organizations to kick off a new initiative to really target Latin Americans living in the United States, and actually Puerto Ricans in particular, who are leaving Puerto Rico in significant numbers these days and moving to the United States, looking for economic opportunity. The Puerto Ricans are going to Orlando, and they're going to New York, they're going to the places where you would think they would probably, but they also get to Lancaster and Columbus. For some reason, they don't come to Pittsburgh. So our objective is to try to elevate awareness of Pittsburgh as a place with great opportunity, try to encourage these people on the move to consider Pittsburgh. So we are partnering with Vibrant Pittsburgh, the city, Allegheny County, the Latin American Cultural Union, the Hispanic Chamber, the Hispanic Development Corporation, the Roberto Clemente Foundation, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Visit Pittsburgh, I already mentioned Vibrant Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, and the World Affairs Council, and the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnerships. There's a whole bunch of organizations that are teaming up to relaunch an initiative that Vibrant Pittsburgh started about a year ago called Hola Pittsburgh, and it was really an effort to try to reach out to Latin Americans and get them interested in Pittsburgh. So we're calling this Hola Pittsburgh 2.0. We're still putting the meat on the bones of what this whole year-long initiative is going to look like. We've got our kickoff plan. So we are planning like the greatest salsa party in downtown Pittsburgh coming up on June 22nd. We were able to partner with the Pittsburgh Cultural Trust, the Jazz Live International Festival, and ImaginePittsburgh.com, which is an initiative of the Allegheny Conference, stepped up to sponsor the lead act on Sunday, June 22nd, a band called El Gran Combo. And some folks know this very well. I have been told that El Gran Combo is to salsa what the Rolling Stones are to rock and roll, right? 50-year-old band funded by the same 70-year-old guys who started it 50 years ago. And they're coming to Pittsburgh. They're going to be free in the street for a big party. And we want to use El Gran Combo in this performance to really kick off this whole idea of Pittsburgh as a place with great opportunity. The Latin American Cultural Union is lining up dozens of volunteers. They're going to work the crowd with job and career information and tell them what a great place this is to be. And we want to encourage everybody in Pittsburgh to turn out too. And really don't make this a Latin American event, make this a Pittsburgh event with everybody showing up to be welcoming, right? We want them to know there are jobs here, but we also want them all to know that we want them to come here. So I encourage everybody to turn out on Sunday, June 22nd, take part in the festivities, and we're going to be building this Ola Pittsburgh strategy. You'll hear more about it as we get closer to the concert, but we think there's a lot of opportunity for everybody to join in and really get this message to this very important group that we know is on the move, and they're looking for opportunity in the United States, and because they're Puerto Ricans, they're American citizens, they don't need visas. And so it's a really great opportunity. We are working on the visa issue. I know Brandon would kill me if I didn't mention that the Allegheny Conference is very active on Capitol Hill these days on H-1B and also on student visas and making it possible for students to stay in the United States. We work with chambers of commerce stretching all the way from Pittsburgh to Minneapolis, a chamber coalition of the whole Great Lakes states that's engaged in lobbying on Capitol Hill to try to get the government to think differently about visa issues. So it's a fight, as you can imagine, but we are active. But that's the long haul. That's stuff that has to be done to make structural change. In the meantime, great party on June 22nd. Let's kick it off and really send out a big welcome sign, especially to Latin Americans, and get them interested in Pittsburgh.
All right, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Melanie. Just want to do a final round of recognition. I would be remiss not to point out this beautiful America signage, and the flag there was provided by the Greater Pittsburgh Literacy Council and the Carnegie Libraries. Their ESL students put that together. And again, many, many thanks to the team at SEED for hosting us, for providing the sponsorship for Lydia's Coffee House of the food in the back, so please enjoy. I believe we might have some treats from Las Palmas as well. And bésame. So with that, I look forward to building a more welcoming Pittsburgh together. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. Thank you.